Okay, let us begin, and I hope that people will be joining as they come along. Um,
Right.
Four amazing women whom we hardly know: Elizabeth Friedman, Mary Ross, Patsy Mink, and Ellen Ochoa. Probably the most recognizable would be Patsy Mink. But the other women are so remarkable, and how sad it is that we don't know them. They should be household names. Elizabeth Smith Friedman, born in 1892, died in 1980. She was an American expert cryptanalyst and author. She's been called America's first female cryptanalyst. I want you to look at the document next to her picture, and this is what she was doing. If anybody understands crypto analogy, please let me know. She was an American expert cryptanalyst and author. She's been called America's first female cryptanalyst. She was born in Huntington, Indiana, to John Marion Smith, a Quaker dairyman, banker, politician, and Sophia Smith. She was the youngest of 9 surviving children. The 10th died in infancy. She was raised on a farm. From 1911 to 1913, she attended University of Worcester in Ohio. She left when her mother became ill. In 1913, she transferred to Hillsdale College in Michigan. In 1915, she graduated with a major in English literature. She studied Latin, Greek, and German. She began her career in cryptanalysis in 1916 when a wealthy man named Colonel George Fabian hired her to work at Riverbank Laboratories, which he'd founded in Illinois. Fabian was a conspiracy theorist who believed Sir Francis Bacon was the true author of William Shakespeare's plays and poems. Listen, now get this. Elizabeth's job was to examine his works for secret messages that Fabian believed Bacon had included in the plays and poems. This is how cryptoanalogy works. You try to find repeating patterns. It was at Riverbank that Elizabeth, and her name was spelled Elizabeth with an E and Elizabeth with an A, but the preferred pronunciation was Elizabeth with an E. She met her husband there, William Frederick Friedman, whom she married in 1917. Both Elizabeth and William realized while working for Fabian that the Baconian theory, as it is known, was simply not true. The couple later debunked the theory in their 1957 book, The Shakespearean Ciphers Examined. Cryptoanalysis: the art process of deciphering coded messages without being told the key. This involves them in cryptoanalysis. They were looking for patterns that turned out to be meaningless. Exposure to these false patterns made the Friedmans want to know how to find true patterns. They were geniuses at that. They made a good team. Something miraculous happened when they worked together. Computers hadn't been invented yet. They were working with graph paper, pencils, and talked back and forth, and together they discovered unique methods. But soon they got a chance to use their code-breaking skills in a different way. When the U.S. entered World War I, they asked Riverbank Labs for wartime assistance. The Friedmans directed an unofficial code-breaking team during World War I. In 1917, when Congress declared war, America had no intelligence community. Only 5 or 6 people in the country knew anything about code breaking, and the Friedmans were 2 of them. Fabian offered their services to the U.S. government. William served in France. Elizabeth spent the war solving intercepted German and Mexican messages sent to her by mail from Washington, D.C. And we all remember this song. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over, ever there. In 1921, they moved to Washington, D.C. to work for the War Department. A few years later, Elizabeth began working with the Coast Guard, cracking codes that helped identify and prosecute bootleggers during Prohibition. For this work, she created a code-breaking unit, becoming the first woman to run a code-breaking team in the U.S. government. This is an interesting picture. In this picture, this is the team that she developed and was working with. They're all posed in a code-breaking unit. I don't understand what it was, but they operated in a code-making and breaking environment. Although Friedman worked closely with her husband as part of a team, many of her contributions to cryptology were unique. She and her team deciphered many encoded messages throughout the Prohibition years, solved many cases, including some codes which were written in Mandarin Chinese. While working for the U.S. Coast Guard, the Bureau of Narcotics, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the Bureau of Prohibition and Customs, and the Department of Justice, she solved over 12,000 rum runner messages in 3 years. One of the individuals Friedman helped to indict was Al Capone. Then came World War II. The Coast Guard moved Treasury to the Navy Department, which didn't allow women to run units. Suddenly, Friedman found herself working for a new male boss and on projects she didn't always think were the best fit for her skills. Even so, she managed to make major contributions to the war effort through her meticulous code breaking. In addition to her crypto-analytic successes, she was often called to testify in cases against accused parties. The messages she deciphered or decoded enabled her to implicate several smugglers operating in Gulf and Pacific Coast waters. Her efforts in 1933 resulted in convictions against 35 bootlegging ringleaders who were found to have violated the Volstead Act. Ringleaders were directly linked with suspected vessels as a result of the information arising out of her analysis. Friedman investigated Velva Lee Dickinson, who had married the head of a brokerage firm that had Japanese-American clients. The couple became spies for Japan. Velva Lee's successful doll shop was a cover for her espionage. Her correspondence contained encoded material about U.S. naval activity in Pearl Harbor. It was solved by Friedman, which resulted in a guilty verdict against Dickinson. Axis declares war on America. And there's Hitler and Mussolini. This is a song that we sang in grammar school. Ironically, it was written by Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, both of whom were anti-war activists. Wish I had a bushel, wish I had a peck, wish I had old Hitler with rope around his neck. Hey, round and round Hitler's grave, round and round they go. We're gonna lay that poor boy down, he won't get up no more. Mussolini won't last long, I'll tell you the reason why. We're gonna salt his beef and hang it up to dry. I'm going to Berlin, to Mr. Hitler's town. I'm gonna take my 44 and blow his playhouse down. Hitler went to Russia in search of Russian oil, but the only oil he'll find there is a pot in which he'll boil. Round and round Hitler's grave, round and round we go. We're gonna lay that poor boy down, he won't get up no more. During World War II, Friedman's Coast Guard unit was transferred to the Navy, where they were the principal source of intelligence on the clandestine German network in South America, which was huge. Prior to the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that brought the U.S. into the war, there was concern that Germany could eventually attack the U.S. via Latin America. While the FBI was given responsibility for countering this threat, at the time, the one U.S. agency with staff experience in detecting and monitoring clandestine spy transmissions was the Coast Guard, and Friedman's team was its sole crypto-analytic asset. Friedman's team remained the primary U.S. codebreakers assigned to the South American threat, and they solved numerous cipher systems used by the Germans. They included 3 separate Enigma machines, 2 of which were used by Johannes Siegfried Becker, codenamed Sargo, the SS agent who headed the operation to communicate with Germany. After the spy ring was broken, Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile broke with the Axis powers and supported the Allies. Over the course of the war, Friedman's team decoded 4,000 messages sent on 48 different radio circuits. The work of Friedman's Unit 387, Coast Guard Cryptanalytic Unit, was often in support of the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover took credit for many of the accomplishments. After World War II, Hoover began a public media campaign that claimed that the FBI led the code-breaking effort that resulted in the collapse and arrest of the German spy network in South America. After World War II, Friedman became a consultant to the International Monetary Fund. All the secrecy impacted their marriage. William suffered from depression and was hospitalized many times. As the agency grew, they differed with NSA on many issues, and agents confiscated many papers from their collection. Following her husband's death in 1969, Friedman devoted much of her retirement life to compiling a library and bibliography of his work. She was angry and humiliated by the government treatment and refused to give their collection to the Library of Congress. This collection of cryptographic material was lodged in the George C. Marshall Research Library, Lexington, Virginia. As kind of a P.S., my younger son and his family live in Lexington, Virginia, and he's visited that museum. He said the collection is just absolutely amazing. They had two children, Barbara Friedman, later Atchison, born in 1923, and John Ramsey Friedman, born in 1926. Elizabeth Friedman died on October 31, 1980 in Plainfield, New Jersey, at the age of 88. She was cremated and her ashes spread over her husband's grave at Arlington National Cemetery. Pages with this asterisk contain information from American History magazine from April 2018. It really was a neat article. This issue provided insights into the Friedmans' lives and the fact that Elizabeth was a pioneering technologist and was one of the leading code breakers of all time. Here's several books about her: Life in Code and the Woman Who Smashed Codes. Friedman's code breaking in World War II enabled the U.S. to win the Battle of the Atlantic and smash the Nazis. The PBS special on her as well, too. Chapter 2, Mary Golda Ross. Born 1908, died 2008. She was the first Native American female engineer. She was a member of the Cherokee Nation, as well as being one of the 40 founding engineers at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, where the U-2 and SR-71 spy planes were developed. In 1958, she appeared on the game show What's My Line? She worked primarily on missile and satellite systems. In retirement, she worked to recruit young Native Americans into engineering careers. She was born August 9, 1908 in Park Hill, Oklahoma. She was a Cherokee Indian and American citizen. Her great-grandfather was John Ross. John Ross was the principal chief of the Cherokee Nation from 1828 to 1866, the longest-serving person in this position. Described as the Moses of his people, Ross led his nation through the relocation to Indian Territory and the American Civil War. As a talented child, she was sent to live with her grandparents in the Cherokee capital, Tahlequah, to attend primary and secondary school. When she was 16, Ross enrolled in the Nebraska State Teachers College in Tahlequah. She earned a BA in mathematics in 1928 at age 20. She received her master's degree from Colorado State Teachers College in Greeley, Colorado in 1938, taking every astronomy class they had. She taught math and science in rural Oklahoma schools for 9 years, mostly during the Great Depression. At age 28, she took the civil service exam to work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs in Washington, D.C. as a statistical clerk. In 1937, she became an advisor to girls at the Santa Fe Indian School in New Mexico. She moved to California in 1941 on the advice of her father to seek work after the U.S. joined World War II. She was hired as a mathematician by Lockheed in 1942. While there, she began working on the effects of pressure on the Lockheed P-38. The P-38 was one of the fastest airplanes designed at the time. It was the first military airplane to fly faster than 400 miles per hour. Often at night there were 4 of us working until 11 p.m., she recalled. I was the pencil pusher, doing a lot of research. My state-of-the-art tools were a slide rule and a Friedman computer. It's a calculator, actually. To function efficiently in today's world, you need math. The world is so technical, if you plan to work in it, a math background will let you go farther and faster. It was unusual for a company that hired a woman for work during the war to keep that woman once the war ended. After the war, Lockheed sent her to UCLA for certification in engineering. Quote, she studied math for modern engineering, aeronautics, missile, and celestial mechanics. Unquote. In 1952, she joined Lockheed's Advanced Development Works at the then-secret Skunk Works, where she worked on concepts for space travel and manned and unmanned Earth-orbiting flights of satellites for both defense and civilian purposes. She worked on the Agena rocket project and on preliminary design concepts for flyby missions to Venus and Mars. An article in the paper in 1959. Most of the theories and papers that emerged from the group, including those by Ross, are still classified. She became a senior advanced systems staff engineer by the late 1960s, working on the Polaris re-entry vehicle, Poseidon, and Trident missiles. After retiring in 1973, she lived in Los Altos, California, and worked to recruit young women and Native American youth into engineering careers. Since the 1950s, she had been a member of the Society of Women Engineers. She also supported the American Indians in Science and Engineering Society. At age 96, wearing her first traditional Cherokee dress of green calico, she participated in the opening ceremonies of the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C., which is an amazing museum. Upon her death in 2008, she left a $400,000 endowment to that museum. And that's a picture of her wearing her Native American dress. She reached for the stars. In 2018, she was chosen to be depicted on the 2019 Native American $1 coin by the U.S. Mint, celebrating American Indians in the space program. She was the first Native American female engineer, one of 40 founding engineers at Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works. She worked in missile and satellite designs. The Girl Who Could Rock the Moon. This is a children's book about her career. This is a song written by Bobby Darin. Come and sing this simple song of freedom. Sing it like you've never sung before. Let it fill the air. Tell the people everywhere. We the people here don't want a war. 700 million, are you listening? Most of what you read is made of lies. But speaking one-to-one, ain't it everybody's son to wake up in the morning when we rise? Come and sing a simple song of freedom. I sing it like you've never sung before. Let it fill the air, tell the people everywhere. We the people here don't want a war. And now no doubt some folks enjoyed it in battle, like presidents, prime ministers, and kings. Let's build them all shells where they can fight among themselves. Leave the people be who love to sing. Come and sing a simple song of freedom. I sing it like you've never sung before. I let it fill the air, tell the people everywhere. We the people here don't want a war. I say let it fill the air, telling people everywhere. We the people here don't want a war. Woman of Valor, Chapter 3, Patsy Mink. Patsy Mink was an American lawyer and politician from the state of Hawaii. She was a third-generation Japanese American and member of the Democratic Party. She served in the U.S. House of Representatives for a total of 12 terms, representing Hawaii's at-large and 2nd congressional districts. While in Congress, she was noted for co-authoring the Title IX Amendment of the Higher Education Act. She was a third-generation descendant of Japanese immigrants. Her father was a civil engineer and the first Japanese American to graduate from the University of Hawaii in 1922. He later established his own land surveying company in Honolulu. Mink was born on the island of Maui. She attended Maui High School and was elected student body president. In 1944, she graduated from high school as class valedictorian. She attended the University of Hawaii. She then enrolled at Wilson College, a small women's college in Pennsylvania. She transferred to the University of Nebraska, where she faced discrimination. She organized a coalition of students, parents, administrators, and employees, alumni, and businesses. She was elected president of the Unaffiliated Students of the University of Nebraska, a separate student government for non-white students who were prevented from joining fraternities, sororities, and dormitories. Mink and her coalition successfully lobbied to end the university's segregation policies. That year, she experienced a serious thyroid condition that required surgery and moved back to Honolulu to heal and finish her final year of college at the University of Hawaii. She earned a BA in zoology and chemistry. In 1948, none of the 20 medical schools to which she applied would accept women. She decided to go to law school. She applied to the University of Chicago Law School and obtained her JD degree in 1951. She met her husband at University of Chicago Law School. Unable to find work as an attorney, she returned to her student job at the law school library. In 1952, she gave birth to her daughter, Wendy, and the family moved to Hawaii. After passing the bar exam in June 1953, Mink continued to face gender discrimination finding work as an attorney in the private or public sector. She created a solo practice, and she was the first Japanese woman to practice law in Hawaiian territory. As the territory of Hawaii debated statehood in 1956, Mink was elected to the Territorial House of Representatives. In 1958, she was elected to serve in the Territorial Senate. In 1959, Hawaii became the 50th state of the Union, and Mink ran in the Democratic primary for the state's at-large congressional seat. She was defeated by Senator Daniel Inouye. From 1962 to 1964, Mink served in the Hawaii State Senate. In 1964, she became the first Asian American woman and first woman of an ethnic minority to be elected to the U.S. Congress. She served 6 consecutive terms. Her most important achievement was one to support the Title IX Amendment of the Higher Education Act prohibiting gender discrimination by federally funded institutions. This Title IX led to the creation of women's sports all the way throughout the country. In 1970, Mink became the first Democratic woman to deliver a State of the Union response. From 1975 to 77, she was elected to a position in the House Democratic leadership as Secretary of the Democratic Caucus. In 1976, Mink gave up her seat in Congress to run for a vacancy in the United States Senate. After she lost the primary election, President Carter appointed Mink as Assistant Secretary for Oceans and Environmental Affairs. After her service in the Carter administration, she settled in Honolulu, where she was elected to the City Council. In 1990, she was elected to her old House seat in a special election triggered by the death of a senator who died in office. She was elected to a full term later in 1990 and re-elected 6 times. On August 30, 2002, Mink was hospitalized due to complications from chickenpox. Her condition worsened. On September 28, 2002, she died of viral pneumonia at age 74. In 2002, Congress named the Title IX Amendment to the Patsy T. Mink Equal Opportunity Education Act. In 2003, Mink was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame, and she received a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2014. Patsy Takamoto Mink. We have to build things that we want to see accomplished in life and in our country, based on our own personal experiences, to make sure that others do not have to suffer the same discrimination. Some wonderful books about Patsy Mink. These are just a few of them. Chapter 4. Ellen Ochoa was the first Latina astronaut. Come and take a walk with me through this green and growing land. Walk through the meadows and the mountains and the sand. Walk through the valleys and the rivers and the plains. Walk through the sun and walk through the rain. Here is a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. Oh, her power shall rest on the strength of her freedom. Glory shall rest on us all. From Colorado, Kansas, and the Carolinas to Virginia, Alaska, from the old to the new, Texas, Ohio, and the California shore. Who could ask for more? Come and take a walk with me through this green and growing land. Walk through the meadows and the mountains and the sand. Walk through the valleys and the rivers and the plains. Walk through the sun and walk through the rain. Here is a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. Oh, her power shall rest on the strength of her freedom. Glory shall rest on us all, on us all. Ellen Ochoa, born in 1958, is an American engineer, former astronaut, and director of the Johnson Space Center. In 1993, she became the first Hispanic woman to go into space when she served on a 9-day mission aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery. She became director of the center on December 31, 2012. She was the first Hispanic director and the second female director. She was born on May 10, 1958 in Los Angeles, California, to Joseph and Rosanna Ochoa. Her paternal grandparents immigrated from Sonora to Arizona. She grew up in La Mesa, California. She graduated from Grossmont High School in El Cajon in 1975. Her parents divorced when she was in high school, and she lived with her mother and her brothers. She received a BS degree in physics from San Diego State University and graduated Phi Beta Kappa in 1980 before earning a master's degree and a doctorate from Stanford University, Department of Electrical Engineering, in 1981 and 85 respectively. As a doctoral student in research at Stanford, Ochoa patented an optical system to detect defects and is a co-inventor of 3 patents. As chief of the Intelligence Systems Technology Branch, she supervised 35 engineers and scientists in the research and development of aerospace mission systems. She has presented numerous papers at conferences and in scientific journals. She became an astronaut in July 1991. It's a picture of her in space. A veteran of 4 space flights in multiple capacities, she has logged nearly 1,000 hours in space. She was in mission control during the Columbia disaster. After retiring from spacecraft operations, she served as deputy director of the Johnson Space Center. On January 1, 2013, Ochoa became the first Hispanic and second female director of NASA's Johnson Space Center. She invented an optical system that can detect imperfections and repeating patterns. Patented in 1987, its uses include quality control and the manufacture of highly intricate parts. Dr. Ochoa also shared a patent as a co-inventor of the optical system that can be used in robotically making products, as well as a system that helps to remove unwanted visual information and images. She was named Vice Chair of the National Science Board for the 2018 to 2020 term. She currently chairs the committee for our National Medal for Technology and Innovation. Her husband is Cole Miles, an attorney. They have 2 sons. She is also a classical flautist and played with the Stanford Symphony Orchestra. I tell students that the opportunities I had were a result of having a good educational background. Education is what allows you to stand out. She's received many awards: NASA's Distinguished Service Medal, Exceptional Service Medal, Outstanding Leadership Medal, Spaceflight Medals 2002, 1999, 1994, and 1993, U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame, International Air and Space Hall of Fame, Fellow of American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, Fellow of National Academy of Inventors. There are multiple books about this remarkable woman achiever. These are just a few of them. These are my people. This is the land where my forefathers lie. These are my people. In brotherhood we're heirs of a creed to live by. A creed that proclaims that by loved one's blood stains. This is my land, and these are my people. These are my people. They were born on and live by the land. These are my people. And their cities were raised by hard-working hands. And their faces do tell that they're holding on well to this their land. Yes, these are my people. These are my people. These are the ones who will reach for the stars. These are my people. That a light of the earth you can tell they are ours. A new step you take, a new day will break for this my land. Yes, these are my people, for this my land. Yes, these are my people. That's the end of the Women of Valor. Elizabeth Friedman, Mary Ross, Patsy, Mink, Ellen Ochoa. Four remarkable women. Let me stop my sharing.
Thank you, Brandt.
You're most welcome. Anybody have any comments? I know we're running out of time. I'm too late already. Well, did I finish on time? I guess I did.
You did. Good job, Brandt. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Brent.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.